Hey, how are you? I am Chris Robin, aka at Detroit Beastie, here with Fantasy Six Pack for Sunday Night Football. The New York Football Jets go all the way to the West Coast, kind of to the desert, to take on the Las Vegas Raiders. And boy, oh boy, do we have. It's kind of going to be a bummer, and I hate to say that, right? Because it's Sunday Night Football. It's Week 10. The Detroit Beastie single game video is back, but hey, it's one of those things where, you're sick and you're down and out for a week, and then you're missing one of your favorite TV shows, and you feel so behind. I'm talking from me. You feel so behind where, Week 9 came and went. You were laying in bed the whole time. You were unable to do much, and you feel so behind, but in a minute or two, you kind of pick up, you feel better, you have some water, whatever, you finally get your strength back. You're like, oh, that wasn't as bad as I made it out to be. Realistically, maybe you're a little bit of a baby during that stretch, but all is well. We are here. Fantasy Six Pack single game slate videos. Hopefully this video finds you well as it finds me well. Before we get into the video, some final score stuff, a few parlays and some betting trend action. Make sure you get to the website at fantasy6pack.net, and when you get there, there's a few different premium options you can pick through in terms of what you can afford, what you can't afford. And when you lock it in, cheapest one, if I'm not mistaken, my favorite phrase as of late, it's only $9.99. And just signing up there, you get all access to the Discord channels, everything we're doing on social media, and even the website. So you get some free lineup advice. And especially, like I said, on Discord is where you're going to want to be. That's where all the professional, rankers are, us DFS slappies, us parlay junkies. We're all in the Fantasy Six Pack Discord. So when you get there, tell them Beastie sent you, and you can be on your way. Now, enough of that. Let's look at this game. And to be fair, I like the Giants. I like the Raiders. I like football in general. I caught a game at the new Raiders facility last year at last game of the year, if I'm not mistaken. Twice I've said that. When Kansas City came to town, it's a beautiful stadium. And this one, I'm shocked that it didn't get flexed out because of the teams that are playing here. The over-under is at a nasty low 36.5 points. That's, to be fair, I'd have to double check, but that's got to be in like the bottom half, the bottom third of all over-unders, on today's schedule, however it may be. But when we look at this one, somehow, some way, both teams have found a way to win 4 games. Granted, the Jets have only, they've lost 4 games. Raiders have lost 5. But when we look at this one, the Vegas Raiders, 27th in the NFL at points scored a game. Vegas is only scoring 17.3 points a game, while the Jets are even worse than that. The Jets are 30th in the NFL, only scoring 16.5 points per game. So boy, oh boy, do we have our work cut out for us if we want to, be in some sort of money when it comes to a DFS slate. This game is not a game for, tricks, for, throwing in a guy like Trey Tucker, Xavier Gibson, these Hail Marys. Hopefully, they can get a long 70 yards. That doesn't happen for the Jets or the Raiders on offense. So we have to be tight, we have to be firm, and we have to get in and get out, play the studs, how we place them is going to be crucial if we want to win any kind of dough here tonight. So let's start with the second year quarterback for the Jets, Zach Wilson, kind of, tossed in on a whim after Aaron Rodgers hurt his Achilles tendon, teared it, but we're seeing all this stuff where Aaron Rodgers is out and about, kind of tapping people on the shoulder. And I saw it on Twitter. Some guy had a Rodgers jersey on out in the open, and Rodgers just walked up to him and went, "Cool jersey, bro." So Rodgers is out, right? We're seeing him being active, and God willing, we'll see Aaron Rodgers this season. But Zach Wilson was thrust into action this week. The Raiders, 13th overall against opposing quarterbacks. Zach Wilson, 11 grand on FanDuel, 8.6 on DK, $21 on Yahoo, 19-20 completions, maybe 200 yards if we're 210 if we're lucky. A touchdown pass, and a carry or two for around 15 to 20 yards. I'm all good with Zach Wilson this weekend. I'm also good with the next guy, Aiden O'Connell. And before I get into the Raiders, offensive skill positions, We saw them fire their head coach. He's gone. And they bring in Antonio Pierce, and it's been like a complete 180 change in culture in the locker room, with the guys, how they're acting on the field. They're like kind of finally showing themselves. And that stinks. We saw this, if I may, for a minute, we saw the same thing from this Bill Belichick coaching tree, right? Josh McDaniels is given the head coaching spot, and these guys are all walking on eggshells in the locker room. Same thing happened here in Detroit with Matt Patricia. I don't know what it is about this New England coaching tree. They're not very good. And you look at Bill Belichick this year, New England Patriots aren't that good. So what is it about these coaches that come from this coaching tree there where the locker rooms completely clam up and they turn on the guy quick? And I don't know what it is, but Aiden O'Connell is the starting quarterback for now in the foreseeable future. I mean, Jimmy G was concussed and he's already been said, well, if you're able to play, that's fine, right? But we want Aiden O'Connell in. Again, going to complete change in the locker room and how these guys are. The Jets, 12th overall against opposing quarterbacks. Aiden, $12 grand on FanDuel, 8-4 on DK, $20 on Yahoo. Almost the same statistical stat line as Zach Wilson here. 20 to 21 completions, 210 yards, a touchdown pass. And to be fair, of the two, I would prefer Zach Wilson just based on maybe 10 to 15 more rushing yards. That's how grim this game is going to be. Yards, points, surely at a premium here. So again, I'm going to fade both quarterbacks. I've done it a million times before, even when there's studs going. And we've kind of been okay because of it. So let's talk about the running backs. This is where all the action is, right? Breece Hall, Josh Jacobs, again, no reason to be cute. Let's look at Breece Hall briefly. The Vegas Raiders, not good. 29th overall against opposing running backs. And finally, Breece Hall is starting to find his stride, find himself. And who would the Jets be to kind of, it'd be just like the Jets to kind of go, well, you're finally finding your stride. You're picking up. You're looking good. We're going to pull you back a little bit. But I think the Jets are smart enough to know, let's feed Breece Hall. When you look at him, 16.5 on FanDuel, 11.4 on DraftKings, $32 on Yahoo, 16 carries, 80 to 85 yards, 3 to 4 receptions, another 30 yards. So to me, Breece Hall is absolutely in play at the flex and captain spot. But again, if you're playing against 100,000 people, everybody on earth knows about Breece Hall, but that's okay. It's one of those games where we're going to play. You're going to see a lot of identical lineups, and it's only the big time winner is only going to be separated by one or two, players or DSTs in this game. And I have just what the doctor had ordered. Delvin Cook, a non-factor, wouldn't be shocked if he asked for and is granted a release somewhere in the near future within the next few weeks. Michael Carter, nothing going on there. Again, not getting cute. All about the stars and studs in this one. Breece Hall, a must-have tonight. Same as Josh Jacobs. There's no other way to look for the Raiders on the ground this week than Josh Jacobs. Finally, we know what this guy can do. Rushing champion, scoring a ton of touchdowns. This week, the Jets, 21st overall against opposing running backs. So who are we to kind of say, you know what? I'm going to fade Josh Jacobs. That would be bad news. And when you look at Jacobs, 16 grand on FanDuel, 11 grand on DraftKings, $22 on Yahoo. Josh Jacobs, 19 to 20 carries. He's going to see a whole lot of work in this one. You're looking at around 80 to 85 yards. And I wouldn't be shocked to see Breece Hall and Josh Jacobs score a touchdown. And to be fair, I have 2, maybe 3 total touchdowns in this entire game. So you'll understand as we get to the end of the video. And then finally, when the game kicks off halftime, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, Chris, Detroit Beastie was kind of right. This game is like low and slow. I don't know how you put that, but Josh Jacobs, 3 to 4 receptions, another 25 to 30 yards. So Jacobs should be a lock to get to that 100 all-purpose mark and a touchdown. Kind of written in the stars, right? When we look at the wide receivers, again, I'm not doing anything, no sleight of hand, no tricks are going to be played. It's going to be Wilson and Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers, and that's about it. When we look at Garrett Wilson, the Vegas Raiders, 7th overall against opposing wide receivers. This game, again, going to be locked because the Raiders, 7th against wide receivers. The Jets are 1st overall against wide receivers. So, again, the teams, the Raiders and the Jets might have to get, weird and try some strange things. I'm not willing to go that route with my DFS lineups tonight, and it is okay to not want to play. It's okay to fade a slate. You don't have to play every single slate possible. And again, if you want a little bit of a challenge, right? If you like to put puzzles together, you like to do stuff like that, then this game is for you, because that's what it's all about. Moving the pieces around, because they all these stars and studs won't fit. So you got to pick the right combination. So give me some 13 grand on FanDuel, 9-6 on DK, $21 on Yahoo, 9 to 10 targets, 5 to 6 receptions, 70 to 75 plus receiving yards all day. Allen Lazard got a little questionable tag next to his name, but he's absolutely in play tonight. He's way cheap, 8-5 on FanDuel, 6-6 on DK, only $13 on Yahoo, 4 to 5 targets, 2 to 3 receptions, 35 to 40 yards. You're going to get, right, let's say, Breece Hall scores, Josh Jacobs scores. And if there is that third, or oh my God, it'd be Christmas if there was a fourth touchdown scored in this game, that later on, that late game touchdown is going to come. It's going to be like pulling a rabbit out of a hat. And again, make sure we got our rosters all tightened up and where we want it to be. Randall Cobb's pretty much been inactive. Xavier Gibson, Malik Taylor, nothing going on there. Both guys bare minimum on DraftKings and Yahoo. When we look at the Raiders side of things, this one it's not sneaky. It's not really tricky. The Jets are really good against wide receivers, and that's because they have Sauce, and everybody's kind of fallen in line behind him. And the Jets have a great secondary and somewhat of a decent defense. Let's not forget the Jets were, as soon as they added Aaron Rodgers, everyone was like, oh my God, they're the top 10 team. They're a top 5 team in the NFL, and the Jets are going to go on a run. They're finally going to, maybe make a bid for the Super Bowl. And then now it just all blew up because of one player. But again, the Jets and the Raiders can still, with 4 wins apiece, anything is possible. When we look at Devontae Adams, 14 grand on FanDuel, 11-6 on DK, $23 on Yahoo. He's still a stud, 9 to 10 targets, 5 to 6 receptions, 75 to 80 yards is a lock for Devontae Adams. When we look at Jacoby Myers, he would be a wide receiver 1 on half a dozen teams, but just so happens he's playing behind Devontae Adams, and it's not a bad thing because of all the heat Devontae Adams commands on the one side of the field. Jacoby Myers, 12-5 on FanDuel, 9-2 on DK, $19 on Yahoo, 7 to 8 targets, 5 to 6 receptions, a cool 55 to 60 yards. It's a very easy move to make on DraftKings and Yahoo, at least. On FanDuel, that 12-5 is kind of a little bit intimidating. But again, if you got some stones, or however you want to put it, if you want to use Jacoby Myers in your MVP captain spot, I wouldn't have a bad thing to say, because again, if there is, God willing, that third or fourth touchdown, it's going to be from a sneaky, not from a sneaky, didn't see that coming sense, but it's going to be from a Allen Lazard, Jacoby Myers kind of play. Trey Tucker, Hunter Renfrow kind of been rendered, not obsolete, but they're just not using them because Aiden O'Connell at this point in time, I don't think he can support, not a lot of quarterbacks in general can support 3 or 4 wide receivers, let alone the kid with his first or second start of his career here. So let's keep it with what we know. When we look at the tight ends, Conklin, Ruckert, Uzma, Michael Mayer, finally, I think that they're slowly and finally seeing what he can do, and they're going to make the switch at the tight end 1 position for Vegas over Austin Hooper. But Tyler Conklin is where all the action is going to be for the Jets tight end, and the Vegas, respectable, 12th overall against opposing tight ends. Conklin, 7-5 on FanDuel, 5-2 on DK, $10 on Yahoo, 4 to 5 targets, 3 to 4 receptions, 35 to 40 yards. And normally a tight end, if you've watched these videos or you know me well enough, I love a good sneaky tight end, in my MVP captain spot. And again, this game could be the perfect time for that in a low scoring, slow moving kind of, just give Breece Hall a ton of looks and carries, Josh Jacobs a ton of looks and carries. It kind of like throws off the opposing defense in a way, or keeps them honest, I should say, where if they're in the red zone in this one, which I think, again, points are going to be at a premium, and you're just hammering the ball with running backs, Josh Jacobs and Brees Hall, a tight end could get loose for a touchdown. And again, Tyler Conklin, 4 or 5 targets, 3 to 4 receptions, 35 to 40 yards. Not a ton of yardage, not a ton of receptions, but he gets, 3 catches and one of them is a touchdown. We are off and running towards the moon. We've hit light speed, right? Same thing with Michael Mayer. $7,000 on FanDuel, 3.6 on DK, only $13 on Yahoo. Just so happens the Jets, 25th overall against opposing tight ends. Looks like they're putting all their ducks, at the line or against opposing wide receivers. So I'm telling you now, Tyler Conklin or Michael Mayer, both of them are going to be in the same lineup for me, and I'm going to run it back. You know the deal. One at MVP captain spot, flex, and then we'll reverse it where, you know what I'm getting at. And then the kickers, Greg the Leg Zuerlein, Daniel Carlson. Not much to go around there. Both teams are okay against kickers. It's kickers. What can you do? Not a lot. I have, combined, both kickers combined, 2 for 2 extra points and 3 for 4 field goals. So not a ton of points for kickers. And when you look at their price tags, I guess if you've already filled out a lineup and you're like, I got 1 spot left, I got $9,000, you could use Carlson. You got 9.5 left. You can use Greg the Leg. The DSTs is where I think we pull the rabbit out of the hat here, and it's going to be with the Raiders DST because of the offensive line for the Jets. Did you know that last week the Zach Wilson was sacked 8 times last week? So that only perks up your radar, right? And so that is enough for me. Oh, he was sacked 8 times last week. That's enough for me to look at the Raiders in an MVP captain spot and see what we get. The Raiders, 9.5 on FanDuel, 4.6 on DK, only $12 on Yahoo. I could see a case here where they sack Zach Wilson 4 to 5 times. You get an interception, you get a fumble recovery, you get a defensive touchdown, or on special teams, something along those lines. So to me, the Raiders DST is my rabbit. It's my ace up the sleeve. That's what I'm rolling with. So you want more action, you want a little bit more stuff to take home with you, go to the website at fantasy6pack.net, sign up for all the goodness they have over there. You can find me on Twitter at Detroit Beastie. And the final score in this one, 17-10. A lot of folks are going to fall asleep before halftime. Make sure you get your lineups in locked tight. The Vegas Raiders win this one 17-10 as Zach Wilson is sacked a ton. We see, Brees Hall find the end zone, and Josh Jacobs is just going to could be over 100 yards and a touchdown. The sneakiest, most under the radar 100-yard and a touchdown game we see this season. Be good, be safe, and I will see you again for Monday Night Football. Again, Raiders win this one 17-10. Bye-bye.